What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today's video is going through getting you back into your deadlift, taking you through a nice little progression to get you back from back pain into deadlifting. Deadlifting is one of those functional movements that you should be doing no matter what. If you have back pain, this is going to be great for you. This is going to be a way for you to prevent re-injuring your back, to make sure that you have the strength and you have the stability within all of those muscles and within that functional movement pattern to pick something up on the ground, pick up your kid, pick up your grandkid. These are going to be those ways that you can prevent that back pain from coming back, along with getting back to the things that you love and enjoy. So instead of avoiding and neglecting this movement, this is one of those things that you should do, and this is how you get back into some sort of deadlifting, whether that's with a barbell, whether that's kettlebell, whether that's just with your kids, grandkids. So we're gonna start off, we're gonna go with a banded good morning. This is just really gonna try and work on that hip hinge, really get us isolated and getting us used to using those little trunk muscles as we go down through the top part of that deadlift movement. We'll kind of break things down into different parts, and then that's where we kind of put them all together at the end to actually go through the entire deadlift movement. So we're taking the band, we're gonna go stepping through and then up around the neck. From here, all we're doing is we're just gonna shoot the hips back and back up. And these are gonna unlock a little bit with it. You don't have to keep them completely straight and just hinge. That's gonna be a bigger lever arm, especially if the back's pretty flared up. I want the knees to unlock just as the hips unlock. I don't want the back to round. I don't want the back to arch too much. Everything should be kind of nice and tall. Hips go back, hips come forward. As that gets better, as that gets easier, just go a little bit further, get a little bit more into that hip hinge, get a little bit more comfortable with that movement of kind of unlocking those hips, moving them back up. Really focus on engaging those paraspinal muscles, squeezing those glutes to get through that movement. You can play around with how far back the hips go, how much the knees bend, kind of find those different spots, but the key is that you're getting that hip hinge. Those hips are going through, they're shooting through, and they are the ones that are initiating the movement. That's gonna allow you to actually start to stabilize through that low back and get those muscles working and moving the way that they need to, so that when you start getting heavier, when you start lifting more, you can actually do it. Next one that we are gonna do is we're gonna do a weighted hip hinge. So instead of having a band being our resistance, we're gonna have something a little bit more functional that's gonna carry over a little bit better into the actual deadlift. We're gonna go with a weighted ball on this one. Depending on how heavy you wanna go, this is nice and light, it's 20 pounds. I'm just gonna go nice and centered, and all we're doing is the same thing. So just a little hip hinge, letting it go back. If you wanna go down a little bit more, or you wanna keep the knees a little bit straighter and play with that torso angle, instead of kind of going just hips back and unlocking, you can go a little bit more of an actual hinge. That's gonna make it a little bit harder. Same thing, gonna change the amount of muscle demand that you are putting on to those low back muscles that need to kick in. So depending on where you're at, depending on where that recovery is, depending on how strong everything is, you can play around with the actual torso angle, how deep you're going, or how heavy you're going. If you don't have a med ball and you just want to use anything, kettlebell, weight, something like that, definitely can. Where you're just coming here, nice and close, down and in. You can also go hug, nice and easy, down and in. So it doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of medicine ball, just wanting to get some sort of weight. Once you start getting heavy enough with that and you're getting into that isolation, you're feeling really good with that hip hinge, that's where we're going to adapt and adjust. And we're gonna go a little bit more actually into the deadlift type movement. So we're gonna raise it up to start off with. So all I want is a box. I like going at a little bit of a diagonal so that you can kind of get your feet on the side, so that when you're standing up, that weight is going to be pretty much in a direct line. If you're going with the toes here, it's gonna put you a little bit more in front. So just that little kind of pro tip, go at the box's angle so that when you set up and you go down, using that hip hinge, Little bend in the knees. Coming up, same thing. Unlock, use that hip hinge, going down, touch, come back up. Don't relax all the way at the bottom. I don't want you to kind of let go of everything here. I want you to keep that core engaged, keep those back muscles active and going. You can play around with your feet width. If you feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit wider and more kind of like the sumo stance versus a little bit more of like a conventional deadlift stance, you can play around with those different angles and those different styles of the actual deadlift. I really like using a kettlebell for this. It has a nice amount of weight to it. You can vary the weight, but it's very easy to also kind of hold on to and give you that sense of actually having your hands on some sort of weight and keeping it within that plane, that when you start getting back to a barbell deadlift, you're gonna have a very similar movement pattern. Even though the hands are gonna be a little bit wider, it's going to be very, very similar. From there, you can start decreasing the height of the boxes, or you can go a little bit lower. So if you go lower, you wanna go a little bit lighter. Just going from here, going down, coming back up. So you can play around with how far you want to go as far as the depth goes. Just make sure that you're still getting that hip hinge. I don't want the back to round nicely. It's not what we're going for here. There are a lot of other exercises that are really good, like the J curl, that can help out with a lot of the back motion as well. This one, we're just specifically going back on really that progression for deadlifts. There's definitely a lot of mobility stuff that you should be doing with the peanut. There's also some strength stuff that you can be doing, isolation in the core and other things like that. For other videos, definitely check out other ones that we have on our channel. But for this one, the deadlift, really make sure going down, nice deadlift form, hips are dropping, nice hip hinge. We're not getting a huge rounding within the back. From there, the progression is going to be get heavier going to the floor, or you can actually start picking up a barbell and start going a little bit lighter with that deadlift for the barbell. Hope this helps you out. If you have back pain, you have issues deadlifting, you need to do this. You need to get back to life and functioning and make sure that you do it appropriately. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep you living an active and healthy life.